Hello, guys. So it's Kylie here. And uh, hello, Azer, Jim, Waxy, and everybody from 162nd Squad. I have prepared a small video for you. I've acquired some information about F4U Corsair and how to fly it, let's say, how by the book. And I hope to give you some information, maybe just have some fun. The video will take about 1 hour, and I will just show you how I fly this baby, this big thing. Okay. So we are at airport 28, parked, and this aircraft is Pratt & Whitney engine, 80-cylinder, radial, air-cooled, 2,000 horsepower rated engine with maximum takeoff weight of 12,700 pounds, an empty weight of 900,000 pounds, with a usable load of 3,700 pounds. It has 3 main tanks, internal tank with 230 gallons of fuel, and in wings there are 60 gallons left and right, and we are carrying now 175 additional gallon in the external tank, which I like to carry, and I take just a little bit less fuel in my internals because it has a big impact on performance, especially in climbing. 6 50 caliber guns. I think that you all know these things, but it's just fun to say. Maximum speed is 470 miles per hour at 20,000 feet, and climb rate is by the book 3,900 feet per minute. I haven't really acquired this rate of climb, however light I was, so information says that, you know, service ceiling is 37,000 feet. Service ceiling is like maximum altitude when you can still acquire like 500 feet per minute climb. Maximum range is 1,000 miles. Some speeds to say. Stalling speed with flaps extended is 85 miles per hour, and best climb rate is 160 miles per hour. It is like difference between induced and parasitic drag, where you acquire like best less drag you can get. It's something similar to the glide speed. The glide speed is like when you lose the engine and you want to be like most efficient and get yourself most far and get most time needed to perform ditching, landing, bailing out, whatever. When this happens, you will lose the engine. Just train your aircraft to 160 miles per hour. Look for the field to ditch, or if you have sufficient altitude, you can bail out. So, enough of theory. Let's prepare ourselves for flight. Okay, first we come to the aircraft. You can just hop in. I'm sorry if you cannot hear me because of the engines of other aircraft. I cannot hear myself, so I hope you can hear me. Okay. So the first thing we want to make
Alert.
sure that
They are engaging our fields.
fuel is off from the engine and master battery is off, so we have no electrics and no fuel. We check the mixture. Okay, I'm gonna do it this way so I can point actually somewhere. This is a mixture control. It should be like it is at cutoff position. This is the fuel selector tanks. should be on off position, and master switch shall be off. These switches in this model is not actually it should be, or I think so, as I have seen. But let's go with this. Okay, that's like only thing you need to do. Then we just jump out and make as our walk around. So we start on the left wing. We just check the trailing edge and the wing surface for any obstructions, if it's clean. Of course, when there is a rain, freezing, so that no icing is on the wings or on the surface of fuselage. there, there are times when there are some socks and covers on the propeller and the wings and some pitted tubes and static port pressure indications. And we need to get rid of this. We can put down the chocks, or so we won't move after we start the engine. Okay, so we walk around on the left wing, check the left landing gear. The landing gear is really tough as it's made for carrier landings, and also the main thing, these Corsair, the shape of the wings are actually just because of the long, very large propeller we have in front of our aircraft. And in spite of, or not to do very large wheels, which would go awkward and it will be very hard to make it strong, they made those wings in this W shape. And it's actually very efficient. Okie dokie. So we pass our left wing, check the pressure in the left wheel, of course. Then we come around the fuselage, check the rudder and elevators and ailerons for movement. We also check the trims if it's working normally. If there are some locks, sometimes they are because it's supposed to hold these moving parts not to blow in the winds. And we check the tail wheel. We check the hook if it's up or down or normal position. We do the same on the right side of the aircraft. We also check the flaps, what position in the structure. We check the left wing. We also check the inlets of the air for cooling in the wings and also in front of the engine. We check the right wheel as we did the left one. Then we climb up on the top of the aircraft, and there's a small entrance, and we just put in a cartridge, which I think I'm supposed to put some electrics into our aircraft. It's like safety thing. And last thing, we want to rotate the prop just by our hands like 3 or 4 times to clear out the cylinders before we perform our engine start. Okay, now we hop in. The first thing we are checking is wings fold indications, which is this part on the panels. The wings
The base is under attack.
normally unfolded, and on these parts are, how to say, some safety pins which will be visible if it's not locked. So it's not visible, so it's locked. Okay, we go through the trim setting. We set it as desired. There are some written by the book settings, but which I just do it what I really like. Give me just a second to set it right. I just like to have trim setting on my zero because I don't have rudder pedals, and if my engine runs out, I want to make sure that I'm not yawing to the left or to the right. Okie dokie. We check the gear lever, which is this thing. It should be forward, and these three indicators are our left, center, aft, and right indications for the gear. We check the flap lever. If it's up, it agrees to the outside checks. There's a small push-up thing for alternate air, or carburetor air, which should be fully in, because we are not using it for the start or through most of our operation. It's just for cooling out the carburetor, and and so we don't have icing if it's icing conditions out there, or for if we are going down from the altitude and we need to heat the engine because we are low, we have low power setting. Okay, what else? Tank selector, we shall set it on reserve. I just used to set it on main tanks. Reserve is like only indication of the amount of the fuel. Left and right and center tanks are all just blank. We don't have any indication, at least it was in the time it was operating. And we normally use first we use the fuel from the left wing, because the aircraft itself is due to what's that called? Torque, due to torque and center of gravity of the aircraft. It's heavy on the left wing, so we want to get rid of the fuel on the left wing first, then the right wing, and then the center one. Okay, so we set it on reserve. Throttle, we check for full movement. We set it for cutoff. Propeller, we set full forward or downward lowest pitch. Blower, which is actually supercharger, we should be fully forward, which is this little thing, knob. It's in neutral position. The blower is for getting more pressure into our cylinders as we climb into the altitude. There are three positions: normal, like not using it at lower altitude, then a low position, and high position. We also cycle this switch due to overheating of the engine if we need to, and to get more power. Okay, now mixture should be all cut off, and these two switches are arms for the guns, so should be saved. Okay, we now check. We can now switch on the master, and here is amperes and voltage indicators, and we just check if we have enough power for start up the engine. We check that all switches are off, so we don't using any power in a generator, and we have a lights for gear, so this should be now eliminated. Okay, now start the engine. We pump a primer 4 to 7 seconds, about 70 pounds per square inch, if I'm not mistaken. It just depends. The longer you press, more fuel it will get into the starter. 4 seconds are good for high temperature conditions. And mix the prop lever. We just pull it all forward and then backwards again. Then we start hold switches. There is a start switch and magneto switch. We put it to both magnetos, and there should be somewhere a switch for engine start, which is, I think, this red thing covered here. We need to hold it as the engine starts. Then we advance the lever to outer reach position as the engine comes up, and then the checked oil pressure rising. So clear prop, and we start up. Check the RPMs. Now we advance this. We have 700 maximum by the throttle. We keep it at 700 or less maximum. Oil pressure is good.
Protect our sheep at all cost.
Now we can set these three things all open. These are coolers for the engine. We shall let the run engine for about 30 seconds or 1 minute just without generator, so it gets some heat up. And in meantime we can check our controls if it's correct and free. Okay, it's free and correct movement. Trims are set. Now we set RPM to 1000. Oh, this is just a thing I do. It's not by the book, but it's like, whatever. Now we add generator load to our engine and check increase in voltage. And if everything is fine, we can switch on our Avionics electronics equipment like radios, lights, or various things we have, heating. Throttle back to 700. Now we should check the flight instruments and navigation instruments. As the engine is running, air is supplying the attitude indicator, so it should set fine, or we can adjust this. Time to check the altitude. If we look at the map, there is the altitude of the airport, so 44 feet above the mean sea level. So it agrees. If it's not, then we set it from the book. Interesting thing, this manifold pressure indicator, when engine is not rotating, is off, should read about actual air pressure, which is like standard 2992 inches of mercury. And from this you can set the QNH altimeter barometric setting. Okay, this instrument should be 0. We also check the inlet of the pitot tube, which is, I suppose, somewhere in the wings, so it's not affected by the prop wash, and it should be clean, so it will always like indicate 0. Now we check the balls in the center, upper and We check the compass with HSI instruments. If it's correct, it's lining to the east. BSI 0G is 1. Time check. And that's about instruments. Now we go before takeoff checks. Okay, we check the wings. Make sure we now put to the, if it's in low lean, we put it to auto lean. Blower should be neutral. Prop max forward, trims are set, trunk tank is in reserve. Now, this little thing is a oil cooler. We can set it as required. There's the oil temperature indicator. It should be about 90 centigrade. Okay. I sometimes lose my words. I don't know how to say the things, but I'm trying. Okay. So I usually put it like halfway open. This is the inner cooler. It's like for interstate engine parts cooler. So it should be closed. And cowl flaps 2/3 open. These are the things around the engine, which are like main intake for the engine cooler for cylinders. Now earthing hood should be up, alternator air fully in. We can set flaps to 1. Also it depends on the field we are departing. Normally we can just depart without the flaps. On carrier landings we want like half flaps, which is like position 2, position 3, depending on the load we have, depending on winds, and so on and so on. Yeah. Weather. Okay, now we can move on. We just made a call, line call. 828 traffic, Corsair, taxiing to the runway at 828. Okay, we should just check that nobody is around. Advance the power. Firstly, we want to check on our rollout from our parking is the brakes. If it's working, we can check left one, right one. Both of them is working fine. As we are taxiing, we need to do these S-turns because we don't see actually in front of our aircraft. I'm just constantly looking for any other aircraft, vehicles, people, so we don't run into somebody. And we'll be taxiing this way to the runway. On our way out to taxiing, we check the balls. If it's spinning to the left and right as we turn left and right, also HSI or horizontal situation indicator if it's turning although with the compass. Everything is fine. Taxing takes the time. I'm going a little bit faster than I shall probably. That's just because I don't want to keep you waiting and make the video like 5 hours long. can fire up switches also for our piper, so we can see where our bullets are firing. We're gonna stop just short of the runway and do our run up. Okay, run up consists of just testing the engine. So if oil is temperature is plus 40 degrees or more, which is way far, cylinder head temperature should be 120 degrees or more. We don't have that indicator, but I suppose it's running for quite long. We have that temperature already. By the book, we shall advance our throttle to 30 inches of mercury, like this button. But the aircraft will just nose over because no one is holding our tail. So we can't do this. Okay, I just throttle up to 1500 with the brakes, with the feet on my brakes. And I check the magnetus over here, left and right magnetus, to check for drops. Normal should be about 50. Oh my god. Is my brakes working? Yes. Okay, the drop should be about 50 between and 100. Then we put it back to both. We can also test the constant speed propeller, advance power to 1700 RPM, and then put throttle, propeller lever to 1500. Just make sure that the oil reaches every part of the propeller, which is governing our speed of propeller. Okay, we put propeller lever back to full, throttle down a bit, realigning the runway, check for traffic. Nothing is here. Just make the announcement. A28 traffic, Corsair, departing runway west, left-hand traffic at A28. Okay, flaps are down, temperature and pressures are good. We slowly advance throttle. We lock the tail wheel. Okay, my bad. (27 RPM and 45 inches). We let the aircraft fly off. Don't need to apply more pressure. Oh, come on. At 120 miles per hour, should be normal liftoff. We pick the wheel up at positive rate with VSI and altimeter. We hold at 150 miles per hour, reach at least 300 above the field to get rid of the ground effect. Then we slowly retract the flaps. Check for nose drop. Okay, flaps are up. Gear are up and indicating up. Now we again check temperature and pressures. All fine. Now we drop back to 2500 RPM and 45 inches or 43 inches. Now we make a left turn to our crosswind. We're gonna keep 2000 force, altitude force. Traffic pattern. Turning back to the downwind. And we can throttle back to normal power, which is 36 manifold pressure and 23 or 2100 RPM. 2100 roll off to the east. I'm gonna throttle back to the north because I want to keep up 200 miles per hour. We can make another announcement for any aircraft in the area, like A28 traffic. Corsair is on left downwind, runway west for full stop landing at 820. Now we start our approach checks. We check cowl flaps fully open and prop full forward. And throttle a little bit down. Still looking for traffic. Any other outlines? At 200 we can start putting down our gear and flags, which we do now. Okay, we have 3 wheels and 3 indicators. Down. Drop to that position. I'm gonna keep 150. And as the airport is like on our 7 o'clock, we turn left to the base. We shall have again fuel tank selector on reserve. Still looking for traffic. Yeah, I'm gonna slow down to we should be at this point about 1,000 feet off the ground. Something like this. I'm a little bit higher, of course. We are turning fine. 820 traffic. Corsair on the final runway west. Still running 820. Now we can throttle back 15 manifold. We check prop full forward. And start putting down our flaps to halfway. And keep our speeds 100 miles per hour. Miles per hour. Going down about 1,500 minutes, 1,000. The one thing very safe is putting working flaps in a level flight because it may fail, and if one flaps go up and one stays stuck or something, you can turn over. So it's safe. 500 above the field. Look inside. Check the temperatures and pressures. We're always ready for mist approach or pulling around. We'll get a little bit of ground effect as we approach our ground. are on all three gears, we can apply the brakes. Okay, I'm just gonna turn off the runway here. So we clear the runway, the flaps up as we leave the runway. Fine. We can switch off our unnecessary electrics, put all cooling flaps to open.
The base is under attack.
Okay, I'm just gonna stop here, pretending I'm on parking. Throttle down. Stop the thing. And switching off the engine S5. Just make sure we put it to the cutoff position. As soon as blades start rotating, we put magnetos to off and put the master to off. We can secure all our switches. I forgot to check the circuit breakers, which are here, if it's all in, like all electronics are working normally. And I think that's about it. The other thing I didn't do is like paperwork. Paperwork for the aircraft, like checking the service and checking the oil leaks, checking everything is done and prepared before we even get to the airport. It's like silly. So many work, but it's all fun. Okay, thanks everyone for watching. I hope you had a fun. Maybe something useful. And it also is because we will be flying F4U Corsairs on our next mission. So have a fun and have a good time. Goodbye.